Hey everyone, this is Jon McNaughton. Welcome to my studio. And today I'm excited because I'm going to be sharing with you a new painting that I just released called Politically Incorrect. Now, I do this show here every week on Wednesday evenings, and I talk about what I'm working on, and sometimes we discuss some news events, things that are happening. And I really like doing this YouTube show because gives me the chance to talk to you live, and people ask me questions about my work and what I'm doing, and it just makes it kind of fun. So I'm here with my good friend Seth Adam Smith. Hey Seth.
Howdy.
Seth helps me produce the show, and he often has some good input too. But
Sometimes.
what's that, Seth?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, most of the time. So this is my studio. This is where I work, and I just finished this painting about 2 days ago. I've been working on it a couple weeks, and it's called Politically Incorrect. Go ahead and put it up there. So this image is about as politically incorrect as you can get, and I'm going to be sharing with you some details about it, how it came about, what the message of the painting. I even wrote a poem to kind of express my feelings about what the message of the picture is. I've been doing that lately, so I'm going to get to that. But before I go into the details about this painting, you know, I am known for doing politically incorrect pictures. In fact, probably my most politically incorrect picture that has been the most how should I say controversial was one of the first paintings I did that was somewhat political back in 2009. Seth, would you put up the One Nation Under God? So this is a close-up of the painting. Show the full painting, Seth, if you would. Well, that's also a close-up, but anyway, this painting is called One Nation Under God. I've got the full image actually just to my right here, up on the wall.
Go. Can you turn your?
Yeah, let me turn.
Show.
I'm in my studio, so luckily this computer's not too heavy. I'm going to turn the computer so you can see the original hanging on the wall. You see that there? There it is. That's about 6 feet wide. It's the One Nation Under God. Now, you might ask, why would that be the most controversial painting that I've done? I mean, what is that, 13, 14 years old? The reason is because you have Christ holding the Constitution. And I personally believe it's a divinely inspired document. And so I felt it was important to have a glorified Christ holding the Constitution. And behind him are the different patriots of the past, and they're speaking from the dust. They're telling us to remember all the things that they've sacrificed for us to have today, and specifically the Constitution and, all the lives that were given and the blood that was spilt. And it's hard to see, but on his sash, the crimson sash that Jesus is wearing, is Hebrew writing that says, "Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord." Now, can you see why that would be so controversial? It is not correct. And, it's interesting. Just a month ago, Politico, if you've heard of Politico, the online news, political news, they did a featured article on me, and they said that I may be the most divisive artist living today. And when I read that, I thought, that's not true, because I am the most divisive artist living today. There's no question. Now, you might say, well, why would you be proud of that? Divisive is another word for politically incorrect in my mind. And I don't do my paintings simply because I'm trying to just, kick the wasp nest and get attention. And I'm not trying to just be provocative for the sake of being divisive. What I'm trying to do is create these images that represent how the conservative body of Americans feel. This is our time in history, and so a lot of my images will have this very serious undertone, and sometimes you have to use irony. Sometimes you have to use some sarcasm or some metaphor or something a little outrageous to get the attention of the viewer. And then when they dig into the painting, they understand what the message is. That's kind of what art is about. And so in this picture, you see Christ holding the Constitution, and it's just loaded with all kinds of detail. If you have a chance to go to my website, take a close look at that painting. Let's go to the next painting there, Seth. This is another very politically incorrect painting that I did back when Obama was president. It was at the end of his first term, and I decided to call this one Obamanation. And I packed in this painting as many different crazy, events that had taken place in his first term, and there was no end of subject matter that I could put in. I did think of doing something for Trump's presidency. I was going to call it Trump Nation, which has a very different meaning than Obama Nation, obviously. And a lot of that probably would have had to do with some of the crazy attempts that the Democrats had of trying to have him ousted from office. They impeached him twice without the evidence. Isn't that nuts? So anyway, go to the next. Let's go to a close-up, and I'll just mention a few of the politically incorrect items there. So one of the first things you see front and center is you have an American soldier eating cake. And that was a metaphor that was popular regarding, having, how do you explain it, when they come out in the military. And that was something that was very controversial during President Obama's presidency. And at one point, I think it was, I don't know if this was right. Was it Michelle Obama that mentioned something about eating cake, and that got caught on? I can't remember.
No, I don't remember that.
There was
maybe
a
somebody in the
quote.
comments could do.
Yeah, maybe somebody remembers that. And then you've got the Fort Hood shooting, and you've got a reference to the different radical Islamists. There's a sign in the background. It's a illegal immigrant crossing sign with bullet holes. These are very politically incorrect symbols, but they have an important message behind them that people can dig themselves into. Also, here's the other side of the painting. You have the rooster next to Obama that represents the importance of waking up to our situation. There's the woman holding the abortion sign, and she's got blood on her hands. There's just a lot of different things there. Let's go to the next one. Go to the next one. This is a sketch that I did of Ronald Reagan with one of his quotes. It says, "Freedom prospers when religion is vibrant and the rule of law under God is acknowledged." This is not a this is not a politically correct statement, because anything to do with God has been pushed out of the public forum, and there's a lot of debate regarding that. I believe that the country was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. I believe that God was mentioned 4 or 5 times in the Declaration of Independence. The U.S. Constitution does not mention God, but it does say in the First Amendment that the government will not establish religion, but it doesn't say that it will force religion out of the public discussion, which it has done.
Well,
even
and John Adams had said that the Constitution was specifically designed for a religious and moral people, and without that, it will not work. It will not function.
Yeah, and it's partly why it's struggling so much right now. You know, I think it's interesting that in uh, the the congressional uh, place where they meet, that right above where the lectern is, it says, "In God we trust." You see that when the president gives the State of the Union. It's just so ironic that that's up there when so much of the leaders of our country have pushed away from that. But
Well,
that's a
even the what's the paneling on the Supreme Court is Moses and the Ten Commandments.
yeah. There's a lot of the original founders of the country had very strong opinions regarding our foundation of our country, and so a very politically incorrect thing to even talk about these days, but it's something that's important to me. Thanks, Cami. I appreciate it. Okay, let's go to the actual painting that I just finished. Politically incorrect. So I'm going to start by reading the poem that I wrote. And, I've been doing that lately. I've been reading or writing poetry to kind of express how I feel about my paintings. And, I don't claim to be the greatest poet that ever lived, but hopefully this helps you understand what I was thinking when I wrote this. So I'm going to read this and talk about it with you. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask those and we'll put them up. So this is called Politically Incorrect. Out on the gun range he stood, the embodiment of a man. He was neither black nor white, a proud American. He held a firearm of choice. It was his right to own, and was trained to use it skillfully for defenses unbeknown. The American dream is real, though ideologies clash. He wore a red MAGA hat and a Martin Luther King mustache. Who tells you what to think or how to raise your voice? Republican or Democrat? Choose life or be pro-choice. You see, all lives matter, and you cannot favor race. The Constitution is colorblind. Wokeness, a disgrace. There is an absolute truth. Bigoted leftists always forget. You cannot censure people or the politically incorrect. So that's how I felt about it. The idea of this painting was to have these sort of paradoxes of things that you would not normally see. Right now they say 13-15% of the country is Black American, and about 80% of that always votes Republican. At least they have since about the 1960s. And so I thought I'll have a Black American who's in a scenario that's obviously very conservative, with the red "Make America Great Again" hat, and he's got "All Lives Matter," which is something that I absolutely believe. He's got a lot of different patches on his jacket. He's holding the Holy Bible, which it takes me back to one of the comments that Barack Obama made when he was campaigning about how conservatives like to hold on to their gods, guns, and Bibles. It's kind of a mockery statement. Hillary talked about the deplorables, and yet, I think that these are things that are intrinsically American, and we believe in the right to bear arms and the freedom of religion, and we're deeply patriotic people. And so I felt like that was important. As far as the face on the character here, it's not. Obviously this is not Martin Luther King, because Martin Luther King didn't have access to AR-15s, nor would he probably ever carry one. He, but I liked the mustache and the look, and so you might say this could be a distant relative. And he's on the gun range. He's not just some guy walking around with an MR-50 or AR-15 out in public. That would be a little bit ridiculous. People who are what the left would call responsible gun owners, and even those on the right would never behave like that. It's we take firearms very seriously, and it's a point of pride, and it's a part of our heritage as Americans that we can uh, have the right to bear firearms and protect our families and our country, and it's all there in the Constitution. So let me talk a little bit about some of the patches he's got that he's wearing on his clothing. Um, he's got on the right side there. It says "Secure the border," and that's a reference to obviously what's happening in Texas and other southern states. I thought it would be fun to put "Straight Pride." That's the symbol with the white horizontal lines. Uh, in opposition to gay pride. You know, it it doesn't really matter. If somebody wears a gay pride shirt, I don't care. But if you wear straight pride on your shirt, that's considered politically incorrect, and they'll beat you up or cancel you for it. And so that's the reason I put that on there. I personally would never wear an outfit like this. It's all a big metaphor. But if somebody does, so what? Let them do what they want. Okay, he's got the Republican patch down here below his pocket with the elephant. Over on the left side is the patches, the 2A for the Second Amendment. He's got the "Don't Tread on Me" flag, the yellow flag with the coiled serpent, and down below, you can't see it in this picture, but he's got some other patches, regarding faith and what have you. He's got a Confederate belt buckle, simply because that would certainly be politically incorrect. A lot of these things have been, the left has tried to um, make them appear and stereotype them as either white nationalist or some other racist meaning. I mean, for example, the red mega hat. I mean, people have been attacked in restaurants for wearing that because they assume that the person is racist, or just because they don't like Trump. And I mean, the First Amendment should protect people's rights in all cases in this kind of scenario. And so that's why I felt it was important to do that. Um, so the picture is what it is, and it just kind of has that message. One thing also I have to mention that there was a comment on one of my social media when I posted this today, and it was regarding the second to last stanza in my poem, where it says, "You see, all lives matter. You cannot favor race. The Constitution is colorblind. Wokeness a disgrace." And this person, obviously was a supporter of Black Lives Matter, and you know how they feel about people using the term "all lives matter" as if that takes away from what they're trying to emphasize, and that's a whole other discussion. But the part that really upset them is where I said the Constitution is colorblind, because he said, "Well, what about the 3/5 clause in the original Constitution?" He says, "This our country is anything but colorblind," and then there was a few expletives, and I got trolled on that. And so my response to that is that the Constitution indeed is colorblind. We have to account the different amendments that are in the Constitution. The 14th Amendment, which was passed in 1868 after the Civil War, had what was called um, it had the citizenship clause that was written in that gave all people the rights to be a citizen of the United States regardless of color, and they did away with the 3/5 clause. And when you look at the 3/5 clause and the history behind that, it does make you cringe a little bit, especially under the sensitivities that we have today, because we talk about how all men and women are created equal. So why did they have the 3/5 clause? And I find that that's an interesting part of our history when they were attempting to pull together the states during the Constitutional Convention. And the southern states had a disproportionate number of people living there if you added the slaves. And so a compromise was met where they would count them at 3/5 in order to ratify the Constitution. And I know that sounds horrible. And, I definitely don't like the way that is. However, we probably would not have started our country the way we did. And the blessings that America has brought about to so many millions and hundreds of millions of people, that one compromise definitely, in my opinion, was important. And today, so many people just, it's such a blessing. But if they
Not
had
to
not done,
mention, not to
pardon
mention
me,
the fact that we are the only country that has ever fought a war to end slavery. We're the only country. So slavery still exists in many countries throughout the world.
yeah,
We are the only country in history that has ever fought a war specifically to end slavery.
there's been a lot of brave men and women in this country that have fought against slavery, that have fought against the whole concept of political correctness, the right to free speech and to say whatever you want. It's, you can't say whatever you want. Obviously, if you say there's a fire in the house and people get hurt, that kind of thing you can't do. But you can't legislate against people being offended. And that's where we're at today. We have a lot of people that are being canceled, they're losing their jobs, they're afraid to walk down the street without somebody hitting them simply because of the words they use, the way they look, that kind of thing. And that's why I felt this painting was important to represent that political incorrectness is not illegal. It's not bad. It's the way we are as Americans. We should be able to express ourselves. If anybody is politically incorrect, it's the minorities that are pushing their leftist agendas. Where you have, for example, well, I won't get into all the things going on with transgenders in sports, but you know what I'm talking about. So maybe that'll be another painting. Probably not. I think I've made my point. So, so that's really the message of today's live YouTube. And I appreciate you joining with me. And if you go to my website, you'll see the image, Politically Incorrect. You can read the poem there. That's jonmcnaughton.com. And until next Wednesday, you can find me on my Facebook channel. You can find me at Twitter at Truth Social. I've got a new account there. I'm pretty active on that. And just come to my website. So until then, thank you, everybody. And I'll see you next week.